Invitation is hereby given of a welcome day of City of Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Municipal Council to be held on Wednesday, 17 November 2021 at 10 o'clock in the OR Tambo Government Precinct Civic Center, Council Chamber, Germiston. CM, the first item is opening, welcome and purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debucho. Good morning to all councillors, colleagues. I think HODs are sitting. Can you stand up so that I can see that all are here? Those that are supposed to do presentation. HOD, I need to see the CFO. CFO, are you there? Okay. HOD, HR, CIO, legal. Do you have legal here? Can in the meantime get our HOD legal to actually join in the meeting? As long as we have finance, ICT, as well as HR. These are key departments that are actually going to assist us to run this program today. My name is Imogen Mashazi. I'm the current city manager of the city of Ekurhuleni and also the MEO for the city of Ekurhuleni. The purpose of calling this open day is for us as administration, as you know that there's no councillors yet, to take you through all the processes, the ICT processes, your provision of tools of trade, the options available in terms of your 3G. Finance will take you through your salary structuring. They'll take you through the municipal pension fund, medical aid, and SARS will also do a presentation in terms of the requirement. HR will take us through the capacitation of councillors, the overall PR and what councillor support. They're going to also give us support in terms of political party interaction. And the handover of the legislature end of term report will also come through the process. We'll explain, because it is the duty of the accounting officer to actually do a handover report for the previous term of office. That's why there is this transitional period for accounting officers to be there during the transitional period to ensure that the new term of office is actually taken through all the processes and they actually understand where council comes from. Remember, this is not the new council, it will be a new term of office. I'm going to deliver my speech in terms of the preparation of the new council. I want to start by congratulating all of you for being elected into office. Indeed, as the MEO, I can attest that the elections were free and fair, which is a clear demonstration to us that our democracy continues to mature. The election that we have just come from means that the fourth administration has been disestablished, and the declaration of results, election results, has paved way for the establishment of the fifth administration, meaning we are starting the fifth administration. You as elected councillors, you are going to form part of the fifth administration. And I think all of you are aware about the new council date. The inaugural date is going to be on the 22nd of November, which is the coming Monday. That is when you'll be sworn in as councillors. For now, you are elected councillors, so you deserve to be part of the payroll. So the Municipal Structures Act has actually changed. It was amended that the council meeting should be called within 14 days after the names of the elected councillors have been gazetted. The previous Structures Act meant that the first council meeting can only sit within 14 days after the declaration of the IC results. That's the difference. In case people have challenges with dates, why the 22nd, why not the 18th? The 18th was the last day for the previous approach in terms of the Old Structures Act. The amended one means that we're still within the time frame of holding the first council meeting. So the last day of the first council meeting is the 23rd. Any municipality that would want to sit after the 23rd of November, they'll be out of line in terms of legislation. So we are still within the time frame of the new legislation, of the new amended legislation. Now that the people of Ekurhuleni has spoken, one can only wish you all the best as you carry forward their hopes as elected reps. I wish you a fruitful 5-year term as you continue with the developmental program of local government. As a city manager, I and my staff commit to giving you all the necessary support as and when you call upon us for assistance. As officials, we are apolitical. We do not believe to belong to any political party. We are going to treat all councillors the same, because our work is to ensure that all the political parties represented in council are able to carry their mandates as they were given on the day of the election, on the 3rd of, what was the date of the previous election? On the 1st of November, sorry, the date was changed, on the 1st of November. So you must be rest assured that we are not going to take any side, any political side. We are not going to play any party political programs. I think my HODs upstairs, they understand and they hear me well, that as officials, we must be apolitical. We do not want to be accused that official so-and-so belongs to a party so-and-so. That's why party so-and-so issues are not actually entertained. We are going to entertain all the issues, service delivery issues that you are going to bring forward towards us. I place the provision of professional administrative support to all political principals so that you can execute your mandate with very little hindrances. And we expect the same, that political reps, they should respect the administration, because we are definitely going to give you the respect that you deserve, and the approach should be the same. As the administration, we remain committed to working with all political parties represented in council to deepen multi-party democracy. May I also take this opportunity to welcome all of you, new and returning councillors, and wish you all the best in pursuing your mandate. I mean the mandate that we were given on the 1st of November. We as the administration look forward to a healthy working relationship with all of you as we systematically put the interest of our citizens first. That's why I was explaining that we should be apolitical. Our citizens should be our first priority as officials appointed by this council. We have put together today's program to ensure that as councillors elect, you hit the ground running come the swearing in on Monday. Today, we plan to take you through the inaugural mock council proceedings. We're going to outline the standing orders, code of conduct for councillors, the sitting plan, and of course, the dress code. When we come to council, we must be professionally dressed. My team will also share with you the tools of trade you shall be supplied with, take you through salary structuring, and give a presentation on the overall PR and what councillors support. In wrapping up the day's program, you shall be given orientation of the OR Tambo Government Precinct. The whole building is now called the OR Government Precinct. When you cross the street, it is the OR Tambo Administrative Building, where the administration is actually sitting. As the administration, we have endeavored and continue to ensure that we implement the SALGA transitional guidelines to the best of our ability, including, amongst others, the development of an induction program for all councillors, the preparation of handover reports, and all the training that councillors will endeavor to get. I will also continue to give effect to the legislative provision of the role of the accounting officer. This simply means that, being responsible and accountable for the formation and development of an economical, effective, efficient, and accountable administration. In this regard, the Municipal Council administration commits itself to give effect to Section 195 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. We are therefore confident that our commitment will go a long way to ensure that as elected public officials, you are able to fulfill your constitutional mandate to improve the quality of life of residents and citizens of the city of Ekurhuleni. Indeed, myself, as the head of the administration, and my team, we are looking forward to receive your term of office strategic objective. Obviously, we are going to have different lekgotlas from different parties, and later, those strategic objectives will be merged into Ekurhuleni, City of Ekurhuleni strategic objective for the term of office, where you agree on the IDPs, your 5-year plan, and the 1-year plan, which is the SDVIP. So the SDVIP, it is your mini strategic plan, where you are going to take strategic objective from your 5-year plan into 1 year, and you allocate a budget accordingly. And that budget, obviously, you are going to have, there's a program on separation of powers. For those who do not understand, we have the legislature and the executive. The executive will be presenting the reports to the legislature. And the oversight committees, the Section 79 committees, will be scrutinizing those reports and make the executive accountable to make sure that whatever plans that have been agreed upon, they are actually met, the indicators are actually met or achieved. And if there is no achievement, the executive should be able to explain to the legislature. The legislature is yourselves as councillors. So executive will be formed by 10 members of the mayoral committee, led by the executive mayor. And then the legislature, there's a speaker who is in charge. The speaker obviously will be elected on Monday. And later, the executive mayor and the chairs of the oversight committees that will actually assist the speaker to run council and make the executive accountable. So that is how the council sitting and the program will run. So yourselves, you are going to be the actual watchdogs of that strategic plan that council will actually formulate and agreed upon or approve for the executive to actually implement. The implementation, obviously, will be done in the administration, but the plans will be approved by yourselves as council, as full council. As I close, let me take this opportunity to extend the city's condolences to the families of those who have succumbed to the COVID-19 and request that in their memories, we all commit to strictly adhere to the necessary non-pharmaceutical protocols and to the COVID-19 regulations. I can see some of you today, most of you, you are not wearing your masks. We need to ensure that we wear our masks and ensure that we maintain the social distancing. Because today we can't maintain it, we need to wear our mask as always. During the COVID period, during the last term of office, we normally make sure that only key public representatives are part of council. Others are actually allowed to attend the meeting virtually. So we'll continue until we are COVID-free. We are a COVID-free country. So please make sure that when you come to council, you have your mask, you wear your mask throughout, because we do not want our council meeting to be a super spreader. And we still want to see all of you at the end of the 5-year term. As officials, obviously, some of us will be leaving council in the middle of your term, but we are happy to work with you, and we want to ensure that all of you are healthy and are free from COVID. I know most of us were affected by COVID, and we hope that we will take the necessary steps to actually prevent further infections and ensure that we vaccinate to protect ourselves, protect our families, and protect those who are close to us that we work with. With those few words, you are welcome as councillors of the city of Ekurhuleni. You are welcome as councillors that will serve in the 5th administration of the city of Ekurhuleni. Thank you. Debo.
CM, we now move to item 3 of the program, mock council meeting. Here we have a sitting plan and chamber orientation from Council Secretary's team, Zandi Dineka.
Good morning, councillors. The venue that we are here in today is the council chamber, where we hold our council meetings. Like the city manager has alluded that due to COVID-19, we are not using the chamber, but we do teams for our meetings until such time where we are COVID-free, then we will be able to come back to the chamber and hold our meetings here. The sitting arrangement for today is temporarily because we don't have, I would say, leadership for council. So how we structured is that we structured it on our parties, starting with Action SA, as we do alphabetically up until the Freedom Front Plus. So this is Block A, where normally, because the speaker is sitting behind me, so normally the leaders of the council, which is the leading party, sits on the right side of the speaker. So the leading party will be seated on the Block A, and that will be Block B followed by Block B, and then the Block C will be the opposition party, the main opposition party, followed by Block D. Block D is the minority parties. The Block A has got 66 seats. This is for when you want to allocate your seating arrangement. The Block A has got 66 seats. The Block B has got 57 seats. The Block C has got 55 seats. The Block D has got 73 seats. So all political parties will submit to me as the priority of the seating arrangement as per party, if you want to sit alphabetically or you want to sit according to the leadership of the caucus. And in the chamber, we've got the gallery. On my right-hand side, it's where the administration sits, the HODs, and on my left-hand side, at the far left, it's the public, and then at the corner there, it's for the media. The classes where the watch is, it's for the ICT, where recordings happen, and the screening of the proceedings of the chamber. The cubicles there is for the interpretation booths. And I have 2 doors on my sides, which are escape routes, and behind the chamber, it's the assembly point in case of fire where we assemble, and there are 2 entrance doors there, and then on the side when you go to your right is for the restrooms for the ladies, and when you go to the left it's for the restroom for the gents. The assembling point, it's outside where they are terrace on the upper deck there. So that's where we assemble when you exit on these entrances and exits. Thank you very much, councillors.
yes. CM, that was the presentation in terms of the sitting plan in the chamber. We now move to standing orders presentation. I have the name of Lethiwe Mbata and William Masiza to present on the standing orders.
Good morning, councillors. My name is Lethiwe Mbata. I will be presenting the standing orders bylaw. Zandi, can you flight? Is it flight head? Zandi, can you flight the? Okay, let's wait.
You can start, Letu.
Zandi.
I'm waiting for you.
Thank you so much, Ntombi Zandile. My name is Lethiwe Mbata. I will be presenting to you, councillors, the standing orders bylaw. The first slide has the purpose of standing orders bylaw. We will start by outlining the purpose of the standing orders by saying municipal councils are empowered by section 160, subsection 6 of the Constitution to make bylaws which prescribe rules and orders for their own internal arrangements and proceedings, as well as to regulate the establishment, composition, procedures, powers, and functions of its committees. These bylaws are therefore passed by council to provide for procedures during committee meetings, order during council meetings, conduct of council business, debates, questions, roles of political office bearers. Second slide relates to the authority of the standing orders. Honorable councillors, these rules apply and bind all councillors, all political parties in council, all employees or officials of the municipality in their course and scope of their employment, and members of the public when they are in the precinct of council. Slide 3 is a provision around councillors' attendance. On attendance, the rules provide that councillors are required to attend all council meetings and committee meetings. And in the event of a councillor's absence, the approval of leave of absence through party whips is required. And as such must be communicated to the Speaker of Council or the chairperson of a committee. Political parties are therefore urged and required by these rules to keep proper leave records for their members, as this has certain legal implications on councillors' overall attendance of meetings. Slide 4, attendance registers. On registers, all councillors are required by these rules to ensure that they sign the attendance registers, which are circulated during all council meetings as well as committee meetings. Slide 5, councillors' conduct. On the conduct of a councillor, councillors will say the council or programs meetings are meant to inform council members and the citizens of the community about important issues and topics which create an opportunity for community building. Therefore, councillors as public representatives are required at all times to portray high standard of decorum for the chamber. This includes, but not limited to, rise when the executive mayor and speaker enter the chamber and to remain standing until directed otherwise by the speaker. Accord the speaker and other councillors due respect at all times and must conduct themselves with dignity. Councillors, standing orders prohibit taking of videos and taking of pictures, bringing of placards, signs, posters, and reading of newspapers in council. And cell phones are to be put on silent as a matter of courtesy, and councillors, eating is not allowed inside the chamber, except for what has been provided for by the council officials. No grandstanding, speaking off topic, raising voices, and off-color jokes or remarks are permitted. Slide 6. Still on councillors' conduct, as we continue with councillors' conduct rules, honorable councillors, a council chamber is a gun-free zone. Therefore, councillors may not bring weapons of any kind. A councillor may also not use threatening gestures, offensive, belittling, abusive or insulting, derogatory, and or injurious comments in council. Any violation of these rules will warrant removal from the precinct in terms of applicable rules of the standing order provisions. Slide 7 is about quorum. Quorum. Council or committee meetings require quorum or the majority of members to be present in order to validate and resolve on any business before it. In terms of the rules, quorum shall always be 50% plus 1. This means that, for an example, in a committee of 20 members, at least 11 members must be present for a meeting to sit or proceed. And quorum must be present throughout council and committee meetings. In the case where there is no quorum, and after the expiry of the prescribed timeframes as stipulated in the rules and in the committee's terms of reference, the speaker or chairperson shall adjourn the meeting to a future date. Slide 8. Councillor, when addressing speaker and other councillors. On how should a councillor address another councillor and the speaker, the rules provides that the speaker of council must always be addressed as speaker. The chairperson of a committee must always be addressed as chairperson, and the councillor may not call another councillor by their first name only. The Speaker of Council ensures that councillors are allowed to engage in debates freely. However, the Speaker keeps a list of all councillors who should participate in a debate from different political parties on different items. And the precedence of Speaker of Council means that any councillor who was speaking will cease to address council, and the Speaker of Council will be heard without interruption. Slide 9. Recognition of councillor to speak. On recognizing a councillor, the Speaker keeps a list of speakers as presented by political parties in council, and speaking time allocation to political parties is closely monitored. And the councillor may speak only when recognized by the Speaker of Council or the chairperson of a committee during the committee meeting. Slide 10. Matters pending before courts. On matters before courts and through these rules, council acknowledges that the judicial authority is vested in our courts, and as such, rules prohibit councillors from making remarks on the merits of any matter pending before courts, as this will not only result in the confusion or misunderstanding of the judicial function, but will compromise the integrity, impartiality, and independence of the judicial system. Courts proceedings remain immune from external influences. Slide 11, Zandi. Points of order. The rule provides that a councillor may rise and raise a point of order during a council or committee meeting. A point of order relating to whether a correct proceeding is being followed, and therefore a requirement is that a councillor rising on a point of order shall be required to quote the relevant standing order provision relating to the alleged transgression upon which the point of order is based. The Speaker's ruling on points of order is final and may not be discussed further. Slide 12. Gross disorderly conduct. We say the role of the speaker or the chairperson of a committee is to ensure that order is maintained during council and committee meetings. A councillor may therefore not deliberately create serious or disorder or interruption. A councillor may not undermine or attempt to undermine the authority of the speaker or the chairperson of a committee. A councillor may not threaten violence against a councillor or any other person, or act in any other way that is seriously detrimental to the dignity of decorum of council. Slide 13, interpretation of these rules. We say the role of the Speaker of Council is to give ruling whenever a question is posed around the interpretation of rules and in cases not provided for by these rules. In discharging this function, the Speaker of Council considers best practices and is guided by the ordinary or literal dictionary meaning in interpreting rules, also by the previous rulings which bind the position of Council, as well as the established practices of the Council. The Speaker has powers to further frame a rule in respect of any eventuality for which these rules do not provide. A rule framed by the Speaker of Council remains in force unless reviewed in terms of applicable standing order, provision, or processes. In terms of the standing orders bylaw, a councillor may request a review of the rule framed by the Speaker to the Rules Committee, and the rule remains in force until such time the meeting of the rules sit and the report is submitted there onto the next in the next council meeting, which will determine the rule's validity and enforceability. It's also a requirement that rulings so adopted be compiled in a rulings booklet for future reference. Slide 14. On the statutory responsibilities, the Speaker ensures that Council provides a forum for public debate and consideration of issues, passing of bylaws, policies, and scrutinizing or overseeing the executive action. The Speaker also ensures that parties represented in Council participate fully in the proceedings of Council and in its committees and forums, and facilitates public involvement in the processes of Council in accordance with the Municipal Structures Act. The Speaker has a duty to, where possible, consult the structures within Council to achieve the efficient and effective functioning of Council in a transparent and accountable manner. The Speaker also maintains and preserves order and the proper decorum in the Council and upholds the dignity and the integrity of Council. The Speaker is further The Speaker further is responsible for the strict observance of these rules, decides on questions, orders and practices in Council, and the rulings of the Speaker, once made, are final and binding and may not be debated further. The Speaker acts fairly and impartially and applies the rules with due regard to ensuring participation of members of all political parties in Council in a manner that is consistent with democratic values. And we conclude by saying these bylaws are promulgated to maintain decorum, ascertain the will of the majority, facilitate the orderly transaction of the business of Council, and are reviewable by Council as and when there is a need to realign them in ensuring that they conform with various legislations and changing times, as well as ensuring the presence of sound governance practices. From me and Mr. Masiza, we thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Letiwe. I'm sure these standing orders will form part of the official package of reports CM to be circulated to all councillors so that they have the rules with them. The booklets will be circulated later. We'll make sure that we, as legislature, we produce those booklets that will be shared with councillors. I don't know, ma'am, if I must continue.
The booklets will be electronically sent to you. We're no longer going to print because all councillors, ICT, I think, is going to assist you. Those that are not computer literate, they'll take you through the process so that you know how to use a computer. So those booklets will obviously be sent to you electronically. So if we have challenges, please ensure that after the presentation with the CIO, you make an appointment with him so that you can be taken through the basic computer processes. Thank you.
Thank you, CM. The next presentation is a presentation of the Code of Conduct by Lazarus Baloi and Zingisani Kaman.
Good morning, CS. Good morning, CM, and good morning, CS, the DH, HODs, all councillors, and all of my colleagues. My name is Zingisani Nkamana. I'm from the Legal and Procedural Division within the Legislature, and I will be taking you councillors through the Code of Conduct. Just as a matter of introduction, the objective of this presentation is really to touch on the salient features of the Code of Conduct as contained in Schedule 7 of the Municipal Structures Act. The Municipal Structures Act was amended recently, and that amendment came into effect on the 1st of November. And in the previous Municipal Structures Act, the Code of Conduct was located within Schedule 1, and now it is located within Schedule 7 of the Municipal Structures Act. What is a Code of Conduct? That may be a question. The Code of Conduct, it's a document that really outlines the minimal ethical standards that are expected from each and every elected councillor. As I've earlier indicated, it is located within Schedule 7 of the Municipal Structures Act. In terms of the preamble, councillors are elected to represent their constituencies, all municipal councils. They must ensure that the municipality, within the available means, meets the priority needs of the community by providing services equitably, effectively, and sustainably. Councillors are accountable to the community that they serve. As part of that accountability, they must report back at least quarterly to their constituencies. This means that you can report every week or every month, but at a minimum, on a quarterly basis, you must go back to your constituency that elected you and report and give them a report on the work that you are doing in council in terms of bringing services to them. Some of the notable features of the Code of Conduct is that the performance of office functions must be done in good faith, it must be done honestly, and it must be done transparently. Councillors are expected to act in the best interest of the city to ensure preservation of the credibility and integrity of the city. In terms of the voting at the meetings, the Code of Conduct indicates that a councillor may not vote in favor of a resolution which conflicts with any legislation applicable to local government. Maybe just to make an example, the legislation applicable in terms of System Structures Act, for example, the appointment of HODs, it expects, for example, qualification that you must have a minimum metric. I'm just making an example. If a report were to come to council, and councillors are expected to vote on that report, and a report contains the name of a candidate who does not have a metric, each and every councillor may not vote in favor of that report. Meeting attendance. A councillor must attend all scheduled meetings except when 1, leave of absence is granted, or 2, he or she is required to withdraw. This is very critical because recently we have had a case in the city of Tshwane where municipality was dissolved for the reasons, amongst others, that it was dysfunctional because councillors were not attending council meetings. A high court took a decision in that matter that the councillors must attend and remain in attendance of the council meetings in Tshwane. And a failure to do so would result into being contempt of court, and such councillors would have been liable for imprisonment. However, the Constitutional Court set aside that ruling of the High Court on the basis that such a ruling would have violated the noble principle of separation of powers. This, of course, does not mean that, therefore, councillors are absolved from attending council meetings. A councillor who fails to adhere to this requirement of attending council meetings may actually be removed by the MEC of COPTA. So I'm making this emphasis that it is very critical for councillors to attend council meeting unless, of course, one of these two provisions has been adhered to. As indicated on 4, these will be the consequences of not attending a council meeting. Disclosure of interests. A councillor must disclose to council or committee to which he or she is a member any direct or indirect business interest that the councillor, spouse, partner, or business associate may have in any matter before the council or such committee, and withdraw from such proceedings unless council, committee, or committee decides that the matter is trivial or irrelevant. So the interest does not only relate to you as an individual councillor, but it also relates to your spouse, the interest of your spouse, your partner, or business associate. It's broader than just being you as an individual councillor. A councillor must declare all financial interests listed in item 8 of the Code of Conduct and annually thereafter submit any change in nature or detail of the financial interests in writing to the municipal manager. On an annual basis, there must be a declaration of interest by all councillors. Gifts above a prescribed amount are to be declared as well. Declarations must be within 60 days of election as a councillor. Councillors are urged to submit their declarations before the December recess. So you are urged, councillors, to please submit your declarations before this December recess, all of you. In terms of personal gain, positions or privileges of a councillor may not be used for private gain or to unduly benefit a third party. You are required not to use your position, councillor, for the benefit of third parties or yourselves. You are elected to serve the communities that have elected you. A councillor may not be a beneficiary under a goods and services contract to any municipality or municipal-owned entities. The city of Ekurhuleni has municipal-owned entities like Ervat, Ekurhuleni Housing Company. So as a councillor, you may not benefit under a goods or service contract, either with the city or with one of the municipally owned entities. Eight, with regards to full-time councillors, these councillors are prohibited from undertaking any other paid work without a consent of the municipal council. These will be the speaker, the mayor, the chief whip, the MMCs, and the chairpersons of committees. Those are full-time councillors, so they are not allowed to earn an extra income without the consent from the municipal council. And of course, that consent cannot be unreasonably retained and not be given to that particular councillor. Rewards, gifts or favors, a councillor may not request or accept any gift, reward or favor for voting in a particular manner. Persuading the council or its committees in regard to exercising of any power or function, making representations to council, committee, or disclosing privileged or confidential information. So a councillor cannot be induced to vote in a particular way in return for a certain favor. You can't have a councillor A saying, please vote for me to be an MMC or to be a speaker or to be a mayor in return of me giving you 100,000. That is prohibited by this code of conduct. Unauthorized disclosure of information. A councillor may not disclose any privileged or confidential information of the council or committee without the permission of the municipal council. If there's a discussion in council and it's a privileged information, you cannot go to the newspaper, Star or Sowetan, and say this is what was being discussed in council without having obtained an authority from council to disclose such information. Interference in administration. Except provided by law, a councillor may not, one, interfere in the administration of any department of the municipality, give instructions to employees of the municipality except when authorized to do so, obstruct the implementation of any decision of council by an employee, or participate or encourage which may lead to maladministration in the municipality. The CM earlier gave an explanation about the separation of powers within the city, and it speaks directly to this, that if a municipal employee is doing his or her work, a councillor cannot interfere with that work that is being done by that employee. In terms of the municipal property, a councillor may not use, take or benefit from any property of the municipality to which he or she has no right. I think that is clear. Item 13, and this is very critical, a councillor may not be in arrears for rates and services and service charges, for a period exceeding 3 months. So those councillors who have just been elected, whose arrear rates are more than 6 months, they must make it a point that they attend to this. Otherwise, they would be in breach of the code of conduct. What happens when there is a breach of the code? Any suspicion that the provision of this code has been breached will be subject to an investigation process outlined in item 15 of the code. In instances where the speaker is alleged to have breached the code and refuses to authorize the investigation, the municipal council must establish a committee to investigate and make a finding on the alleged breach. The process of investigations and finding thereof is outlined in item 16 of the code, and such investigation must be in accordance with section 3 of Promotion of Administrative Justice Act, PAJA. This means that, briefly, that there must be a compliance to the rules of natural justice. If there is an investigation or an allegation that a particular council has breached the code of conduct, he or she must be notified, and he or she must be given an opportunity to make representations about the alleged breach before a decision is taken on that alleged breach. That is the end of the presentation. Danke, Enkos. Thank you.
We want to thank Zingsani for that detailed presentation of the Code of Conduct. We will now move to the dress code presentation by Ntate Timamahlase. Ntate Timamahlase.
Good morning, councillors and colleagues. My duty today here is to present the dress code policy as adopted by council. And in my presentation, I'm first going to look at your legal framework, the scope of application, and the policy statement relating to the dress code policy. Your legal framework will basically be your constitution or the local government pieces of legislation that are applicable. The scope of the application basically indicates the purpose of the policy, and the policy statement serves various positive societal goals, the preservation and portrayal of the corporate image of the city of Ekurhuleni, internally, externally, to customers and stakeholders. The dress code policy. The dress code policy basically refers to your appropriate attire. And an appropriate attire will be defined as something suitable or compatible for a particular purpose or occasion. Inappropriate attire, which will not be acceptable, is something not suitable or proper in the circumstances. The breaches and non-compliance relates to failure or refusal to comply with something. Breaches is an act of breaking or failing to observe a law or an agreement or a code of conduct in terms of this. And the next one will be dealing with the title. The legal framework, as earlier alluded to, we refer to the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa as the supreme law of the country, and every piece of legislation, bylaw, or policy should comply with the provision as contained in the Constitution. Section 156(5) of the Constitution says that a municipality has a right to exercise any power concerning a matter reasonably necessary for or incidental to the effective performance of its function. Then we further code your Municipal Systems Act, which creates a need for an harmonious relationship between council, the administration, and stakeholders per se. Section 8.2 of the said Act says a municipality has the right to do anything reasonably necessary for or incidental to the effective performance of its functions and exercise of its powers. The legal framework. How did we arrive at this particular policy? This was done in terms of the standing orders by law, which was item ARC 21 of 2011, in particular section 24, which provides that when attending to the business of council and committee meetings, every councillor must dress appropriately and in an acceptable attire as prescribed in the council dress code policy. This was further, prior to that particular council item, there was an item dealing with the previous dress code policy, because we are forever evolving and we need to comply. And that was council resolution item ARC 26 of 2010, which dealt with the dress code for councillors when engaged in council business. And what we are dealing with is the council resolution in terms of item ARC 01 of 2015. What is the scope of application of this particular dress policy? The dress policy applies to all councillors and all personnel engaged in the business of council. And when does it apply? It applies when we're engaged in council, like we are sitting, and in committee meetings. This is to take into account the decorum of the business so to be attended. Then we come to the issue of appropriate attire. We refer to appropriate attire as something suitable or compatible for the particular purpose or occasion. And we also indicate that it's not limited to the items as stipulated below. You know, for males, we are talking about formal shirt, a tie, a jersey, scarf, formal shoes, formal trouser, and jacket. For females, we are referring to formal dress, skirt, long trousers and jacket, a blouse, scarf, suit, jersey, formal shoes, including formal sandals. Inappropriate attire, councillor, as indicated, is attire not suitable or proper in the circumstances. And this is basically includes t-shirts, jeans, sporting gear, sweatpants, beanies, caps, helmets, sporting shoes, including tekkies and safety full wear, sleeveless clothing, revealing attire, workwear defined under the category of protective clothing used for occupational industries, including domestic and commercial workwear, any article of clothing or jewelry which may represent a health and safety hazard, any item of clothing or jewelry with a political party logo or branding. So when we are in council, we are all councillors. Any item of clothing that is imprinted with offensive or derogatory messages. Religious and cultural attire. You know, generally we define your culture as the ideas, customs, and social behavior of particular people, and religion is the belief in the worship of a superhuman controlling power. And the city respects the culture and religion of every individual. And the city does accept the wearing of cultural and religious attire. But there's a provisor to that. The provisor being that such attire does not fall under items listed as inappropriate attire. Breeches. A breach is an act of breaking or failing to observe the agreement or code of conduct, and non-compliance can be defined as failure to observe a particular instructions. Councillors and all persons who contravene the dress code will be dealt with in the following manner. To deal with is basically to take measures, especially with the intention of putting something right. The speaker, as indicated, may order that the councillor or person leave the meeting. Any councillor or person ordered to leave the meeting must do so, and if they refuse, the speaker may order the removal of such a councillor or person from the meeting of the council by the Council Protection Services. Notwithstanding the above, the speaker may also refer a councillor's conduct to the Ethics and Integrity Committee for further action and recommendation to the council for non-observance of the dress code. The delegations, in terms of this particular committee, in respect of committee meetings, the speaker's authority in terms of the policy is delegated to the chairpersons of the Section 79 committees, which imply that the chairpersons have the power to act in this particular and enforce the dress code policy. The title of this policy is called the EMM Dress Code Policy for Councillors and all persons when engaged in council and committee business. The review of the policy. Council adopted a motion on the review of this particular dress code policy. This was to align the dress code policy with the Constitution. A multi-party committee chaired by the then Chief Whip of Council was formed, and this was done in terms of item ARC 06-2019. The Rules Committee approved the amendments to this particular committee, but the items still have to serve in council for approval. I thank you.
Do you want to make a comment now? Thank you. It's expected of councillors to dress appropriately in terms of the policy as presented. We now move to presentation by ICT, the CIO and the team. The presentation will cover provisions of tools of trade for councillors, processes for logging of calls, and options available for council. CIO.
Good morning, City Manager, all the councillors. My name is Tumelo Hanani. I'm from the ICT department, and I'll be doing a short presentation around the provisioning of laptops, mobile connectivity, managed printing services, email, internet usage policy, and finally the call login process. So, as the department, we are tasked with the responsibility of providing tools of trade to all the employees within the city. That would include the councillors as well. So we will be providing you with laptops, and together with that laptop, you'll get a user account, which will also include an email account that should be used for council business purposes. We also will provide you with access to a voice-based telephone within whatever offices that you'll be stationed at. You'll get an access to a telephone. We'll also provide you with tools in terms of video conferencing. As already mentioned, you are all aware that most meetings now are being held virtually. So the tools that will provide you with will come with the capability that will enable you to join meetings virtually from anywhere you may be, so that you are able to participate. We also will provide you with a SIM card with 5 gigabytes of data per month. So we urge councillors to then work within the 5 gigabytes that are provided, because should you exceed the 5 gigabytes that you are given per month, then there is no way that we are going to be able to assist you. So we urge you to work within the 5 gigabytes that is provided for you. This will enable you to work and connect whenever you're not in any of the council buildings, whether you're working from home or any other location. You'll then be able to connect and still be productive. Very important, we no longer provide single printers. We've implemented what we call managed printing, which is a centralized shared printing facility. Every building will have a printer, multifunction, a big one. Everyone will be connected to that printer. We've done that as part of the cost-saving mechanism, because it's quite costly for the municipality to maintain individual printers. So you will be sharing printers. They're very secure. If you print to a centralized printer, you can only you can release the printing that you have sent to that printer using your user account and password. So once you print, you go to that printer, you are able to type in your username and password and release whatever document that you've printed there. So it's quite a secured printing facility. So we will not be providing any individual or single printers to save costs. Unless there's a compelling case, we can look into that one. But however, our general policy now is for shared printing and centralized printing. I just want to quickly also just touch on the policies. Once we provide you with these tools of trade, there are policies that governs or regulates the usage of these tools. And these policies are to be adhered to by all users of COE. It governs the user access to COE business systems, shared ICT infrastructure, the data, databases, ICT assets, and so on and so on. We monitor this quite strictly and would encourage the councillors to also adhere to these policies. We'll provide them with, I think as part of the pack, some of these policies so that you can go through them and familiarize yourself. Should you be in violation, the system will kick you out, your account will be locked, and therefore you'll then have problems accessing the COE network and all its systems and so on. Just in terms of the email usage and internet usage, there are things that are prohibited, things that are not allowed to be done using the tools of council. That would include, downloading information and content that might be harmful to COE. That would include storing and viewing and distributing or displaying any inappropriate material, including but not limited to pornographic, obscene, or any illicit material. All of these things are prohibited. The system will block them, but sometimes there are others who would try and bypass the system to get to these things. So the system will alert us, it will flag, and it will throw you out. We also say that the system will block certain sites, especially those that have inappropriate content or might have excessive bandwidth usage or negative impact on productivity. So there are certain sites that we block by default, and you will not be able to get to those ones. And of course, non-compliance, I've already spoken to that, and so on. And then just lastly, I think I've covered the issues around the policy. All councillors will be provided with copies of the policy, and we urge you to go through it and familiarize yourself with the content thereof. And then lastly, we have a call logging process. We have an ICT service desk. Should you experience any challenges, there's a number that you can call, 999-5120. You log an incident, and a technician will be allocated to come and assist you. There's also an email address that you can use to also log that call. Thank you. I'll end here.
Thank you. Councillors, we now move to the next presentation. It's from Finance. It will deal with the salary structuring and SASRIA.
Please introduce yourself. Morning, colleagues. My name is Skariso Rutler, the Group CFO. Through you, we welcome the councillors. I will be taking you through the salary structuring. My presentation is very short. I think I will cover around 5 to 6 slides. Just to give the legislation background that regulates the salary of the public office bearers, is that is governed by the Constitution in terms of Section 219, and it is further regulated by the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers Act, and further than that, is also covered under the Municipal Finance Management Act. And what is critical within the Municipal Management Finance Act is that the salaries of public office bearers must be in line with the act that regulates that anything that is paid either in cash or in kind outside that framework will regulate or will amount to irregular expenditure. So our responsibilities as finance is to ensure that all salaries that is paid to councillors is in line with the Act, and we don't create unnecessary audit findings or irregular expenditure for the city. Then in terms of the basis for the implementation is that we are implementing this in line with the notice of the remuneration, which gets gazetted every year.
Normally, they issue the gazette in December, of which then finance, our responsibility is to backdate it from the July to December, because the financial year of the city is from the 1st of July to June in the next financial year. So, and what is critical is that for us as finance to be able to implement this, then council will have to make a resolution that they are indeed adopting that gazette, and the MEC of corporate governance will have to provide the concurrence or an approval on that. Then, without this approval, the finance team won't be able to implement. Then in terms of the HR and payroll, we just slightly separated this because there is some segregation. There are responsibilities that are covered by HR, and there are certain responsibilities that are performed by finance. But what is critical is that normally all payroll-related information must reach finance on the 12th of each month, so that we are able to capture, verify, and make sure that the information is valid for us to be able to make the payment. And the information that will be requested or needed from the new councillors, among others, is that we will be sharing a personal information that must be completed. It's a personal information form which must be completed. Among others, it will require physical address, copies of IDs, income tax, and certified bank statement, and it must be signed and submitted. Normally, we pay councillors on the 22nd of each month, unless it falls on a Friday or on a Monday. Then if it falls on a Monday, then we'll try to pay on the Friday before that Monday. For the new councillors who are anticipating or planning to make the payment towards the end of this November, because for us to be able to make this payment, we require documentation, like I indicated earlier, in terms of information that should be captured, provided to finance, and also the structuring of salaries is also important, because we can't pay without an individual councillor structuring their salaries and providing that information to finance. And obviously the information is centralized from a council support, because the council support is the one that normally engage with individual councillors, and those information from council support they will provide to HR and finance after they've received from individual councillors. Then in terms of the structure, is that the annual package as currently gazetted is sitting as 520,000, which is an annual package. Then monthly is sitting at 43,000. This is obviously before tax. Obviously, these figures, they trigger tax. It's not an amount that will normally appear on individual account when they receive. Then in terms of the structuring, is that minimum of 60% must go to basic salary, and the minimum and the maximum of 25%. And you can, if you elect, based on how, then you put it against your motor vehicle. Obviously, certain of this information you might opt to get some advice in terms of a tax practitioner, in terms of how best you can minimize your tax obligation towards SARS. Then in terms of the pension fund, which is discretionary, is the right of individual councillors as to whether they want to contribute or what. But we have two options, which is option 1 and option 2. The first option, where council provide 15%, and the individual councillors will provide 13.75. Obviously, the nature of this is that the higher you contribute, then council also put the higher contribution. And the second option is where council provides 7.5%, then individual members then will put 7.5%. Then we've also indicated medical aid that are currently in use in council. Among others, we have indicated we have Bonitas, LA Health, Key Health, among others, they are there. I think HR might talk more about this, and other issues that is benefits, or we call them in accounting, where this infringe fringe benefits that councillors received from the city, and they also have tax implications. The cell phone allowance, of which is around 3.4 per month, and there is a 3G that if we don't get a 3G, then there is some allowance of around 300,000 that 300 rand that we pay per month to compensate those that are not receiving the 3G. Obviously, all these figures, they will trigger a tax implication. The colleagues from support in the council, they have engaged on the declaration that all councillors are required to declare if they have or they are actually performing any employment or services outside the city, and this declaration must be provided to the risk department. Ordinarily, when AG performs their work annually, they do on a sample basis select certain councillors to provide this documentation. So it's one of the issues that I just wanted to indicate. And the last one is that what is critical is that councillors are prohibited from doing business with the city. So it's very important that all of us we are aware of that, because the implication is that it creates an irregular expenditure which might have negative implication in terms of the audit of the city. So these are just two forms that we have attached. The finance guys, they are outside to assist or distribute these forms that needs to be completed for us to be able to effect payment. This is just on the structuring form, and the last one is just on the personal information. I think I've completed my presentation. I don't know if there's any questions.
No, thank you. Can you continue with further presentation?
Okay. The next presentation is councillor capacitation by HODHR. Thank you.
Good afternoon, councillors, city manager. I'm just going to present the councillors' capacitation in relation to the benefits that we offer to the councillors. You'll excuse my voice, I have a bit of flu. Just to take you through, is that throughout the introduction of the relatively new council structures of the metropolitan municipality in South Africa, and the mandate, the traditional role of councillors have actually broadened to encompasses additional responsibilities and functions. New councillors are most often require specific competence and skills to ensure the operations of their local municipality. The lack of service delivery by the municipality is an observable symptom of the major problem in the local spheres of government, and one of the major objectives of local government is to ensure that service delivery is delivered in an unsustainable manner. Municipal council managers therefore require specific competencies and skills in order to ensure the smooth operation of their local municipality. Now, the aim of the integrated councillor induction, and I'm sure this will also happen, I think the tentative date for the integrated councillors induction is the 29th of November through SALGA. You will be all invited through the office of the city manager in relation to that. And their aim is actually to just broaden where we are right now to ensure the smooth integration of new councillors across various municipalities in the country, and this is viewed as a starting point of the process of assimilating and integrating of new councillors. On top of that, programs and logistics will be disseminated from the SALGA offices. COE and other municipalities will take cue from the above processes in terms of as to when it's going to be finalized, but it is tentatively on the 29th. Now, the proposed roadmap for the councillors' capacity It will be, the process will be as follows. The budget, in terms of the budget internally, we do allocate normally about 4 million for councillors' capacitation. Now, this is the money that we normally get from the grant, as a grant from what we call the local government SETA, and it's allocated to us on an annual basis. Every year, either the money decreases or increases, but on this annual year, we then have about 4 million that is actually allocated for this. Now, the purpose of it is actually to induct councillors into local government, assist them to understand also the mandate of the reasons as to why they are here, and then this will be done in conjunction with, as per the SALGA plan. On top of that, the skills needed will also be clarified in relation to all the councillors. CM talked about also the computer illiteracy, if that needs to be taken further. These are some of the funds that are actually provided to take them through. And then the purpose is just to address the skills shortage and align political capacity with the administrative capacity, so that as and when you get documents and then as and when you need to do certain stuff, there are certain skills and competence that will be required of you in order to do that. And then that will be followed by a skills audit and a fact-finding process, which will be communicated further. Now, these are some of the plans or the projects, or actually the interventions that we did in the previous council. The introduction to MS Word, these were some of those who were requested. Accountability and ethical conduct for councillors. Recognition of prior learning. You would find that sometimes councillors have lots and lots of certificates. It does happen that they need to be combined in order for them to be recognized as prior learning. This process, we all do them through the local government SETA that we belong to in terms of the municipality. The other ones will be your local government women in leadership programs and also your adult metric. This will be done through ABET. We normally have recognized centers that you can actually attend to should you require to actually do your adult basic metric in relation to that. The challenges that we might have, that we used to have, is that for the full delivery of the planned programs for councillors, this is what needs to happen. One, there must be availability of budgets or funds. As already alluded to, our funds come from the LG SETA. Now, if they don't disseminate the funds, we are not in a position of rolling out any programs, anything whatsoever. This does not include, our bursary policy is for internal employees. It excludes the councillors. Participation and commitment to the skills audit and the fact-finding. This gets to be a major problem, because in order for us to ascertain exactly the level of skills and competence that needs to be there, we need to do a skills audit, and the commitment sometimes it's a bit of a challenge in relation to that. Also, the availability of councillors gets to be a problem because of the long times that they need to actually do the council business. So we still remain committed to contributing to the empowerment of councillors and supporting the culture of lifelong learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, HOT. The next presentation, Sasria, Executive Manager, Freddie Yao.
Good morning, City Manager and the honorable councillors. As it has already been alluded, my name is Freddie Yawa. I'll be taking you through the insurance cover, which is called Sasria. However, just want to quickly correct just a minor error that has happened. In terms of the program, it refers to me as being from the Finance Department. However, we are under the Risk Financing Division, which falls under the risk management department. The presentation is quite short, straightforward. We've decided to put it in such a manner that it's not going to be complicated, and it will make it easier for the honorable councillors to understand. So I'm just going to give you a brief background and the context in terms of what is SASRIA, what does it cover, what does it exclude, what is it that the councillors need to do for them to be able to be covered under this program, and then what procedure to be followed in an event of a claim. So basically, colleagues, is that this kind of a policy, it's the only policy that is quite unique, which is special, and it's only provided by a single insurer, which is owned by the government. So this was as a result of the uprising event that took place in 1976, the event that happened in Soweto, and it actually gave birth to this kind of a government agency. So the intention, it was because of the market back then realized that they could no longer be able to participate in this kind of the markets where they would provide this kind of a cover. So the government took a decision that they will, however, in turn, provide this kind of a policy. So what does it cover? It's the terrorism, the public disorder, strikes, riots, and any events that could probably be as a result of some political influence. There are also some of those events that are not influenced by politics, like your student riots and all of that. Those will also be protected under this particular cover. Now, what is excluded under this cover? It's your pandemics, your personal injuries and loss of life, your natural disasters, namely being your floods, your hail and your earthquakes. One important aspect that I need to allude to the councillors is that the businesses that are owned by councillors are not covered by this policy, because by law, it is expected that everybody has to indemnify their own losses. For one to be covered under this policy, it is quite important that we declare a correct information to the insurer. There's a form, I would believe that is probably part of the induction pack that has been provided. You need to complete that form in such a way that you will be protected. From my experience, what I've seen is that forms are not completed accurately, which gives a problem in event of a claim. So you need to be able to provide information as accurate as possible. Those assets that need to be protected or indemnified by this policy, they need to be in the councillor's name. So you need to provide your councillor, your name, your ID, and only a property in which you reside in will be covered. So if you have 2 or 3 more properties, only one property will be covered, including its contents to the maximum value of 1.5 million. In terms of the vehicle, the government is only providing a max limit of 750,000. Meaning if you've got a Ferrari that is more than 750,000, then the excess of that, unfortunately, will have to be indemnified by yourself. One key aspect, colleagues, that I would want to emphasize to the councillors is that if you do not complete this form, and in an event of a claim, unfortunately, your claim will be repudiated or it will be rejected by the insurer. So it is of a paramount concern and importance that such a form has to be completed quite fully. When you're completing the inventory list of your house contents, also attach a value of those properties or of those items that you own, so that in an event of a claim, we do not have a problem of having to fight with the insurers of what you should be indemnified for. Now, In terms of the claims procedure, the process is quite simple. There's a designated insurance claim where you can submit your claim, and there's a form that needs to be completed together with other substantiating documents that will be required. Now, I want to emphasize this. All the claims must be reported within 30 days. Failure to report such incident. Sometimes, let me rather unpack this in this manner. Sometimes an incident does not necessarily mean that it will materialize to be a claim. However, it is quite important for one to make sure that you report such an incident within 30 days. Failure to do that, your claim will be repudiated. That's all from my side. I'm not sure if there would be any questions that or clarity that the councillors would want to confirm, or. But in an absence of any questions, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. The next presentation will come from HOO Ms. Mlilwane. This presentation will cover the Municipal Council Pensioners Fund, Medical Aid, and SARS.
Thank you very much, TH. Greetings to the City Manager, Council Secretary, Advocate Metsedi de Kalakala, councillors new and returning from various political parties, and all protocols observed. My name is Liliwe Eliza Mlilwana, as said by the divisional head of legal, that I am the head of office in the office of the Speaker. To correctly say the incoming Speaker. As the head of office in the office of the Speaker, we are responsible for the well-being of councillors, councillor affairs, and also the skills development through the departments that were standing here, your human resource that will be doing that together with them. But that will be done through us because we are responsible for councillors. So everything that the departments will bring concerning councillors, you will find them from our office, which is called Councillor Affairs. We will outline the process of hiring of councillors in order to make sure everyone is in the system, also through the Human Resource Department. There will be a comprehensive induction which will take place on the date to be confirmed, and the following will be presented. The Municipal Councillors Pension Fund, which will be very important for councillors to encourage them to make sure the forms that you have received, councillors, and you arriving this morning, we would request those forms by Friday, at least to be taken to our office. Utilize the numbers that you have received, and call the colleagues that will assist you. We will be in the office in order to make sure that when you arrive, you find us there. Councillors need to have a medical aid which are approved by the city. I'm sure you have also seen the medical aids that are approved by the city, and as they are various packages as per the choice of the councillor. The SASRIA forms are also received from our office, as explained by my colleague just now. on how important it is to have those forms. There will also be consultants that will be explaining further regarding medical aid and SARS. And we will be having, as I've alluded previously, that we will have a comprehensive workshop for all the councillors. I thank you.
The next presentation will come from Executive Manager Lucky Khatebe on the Ward Councillor support.
I'll say good morning, honorable councillors, the CM, CS, HODs, and colleagues. My name is Ntlantla Lucky Khatebe. On a lighter note, I saw on the list there's also Ntlantla Lucky, a ward councillor, so we should not be mixed between the two. And I am responsible in the legislature for dealing with committee participation and education, which includes the establishment of ward committees, the petitions, outreach programs, and also education and awareness. This is the mandate of the division. We just very briefly and concisely take you through. The other information will be shared with particularly the ward councillors, because we are more focused on the ward councillors' well-being and their support. Is to formulate policies and regulations for public participation and programs for the legislature. These are the policies that the council will deliberate upon and take a decision that will be able to implement, informed by what the CM also indicated that the legislature has got 3 pillars, your bylaw making, which the colleagues have also presented on the element or on the pillar of the bylaw. There's also the public participation element or segment of it, which is more critical. But finally, also the oversight and scrutiny part of it, which my colleagues will also maybe, as we establish the committees, they'll be able to deliver more information on that one. So our part is part of a synergy in that process of public participation, because communities are more important in that respect. So we also play a role in facilitating that. We establish and maintain ward committee system in terms of the law, and with the recently amended Municipal Structures Act, we've got 120 days to ensure that ward committees are established, 112 of them in Ekurhuleni. So the rules, or maybe the processes, the policies that will be submitted to council will deliberate on those particular processes. But we also manage the petition process. All the complaints we process through what we call the Public Participation and Petitions Committees and Oversight Committee. We also present those reports to that committee to take decisions, consider items and petitions together with departments, finalize and close our register. We also facilitate civic education and citizenship. It's one sphere of our function that is, it's more elaborative, but we also have the integrated approach, because we're working as a municipality, that we still have to deal more of it, put more, but our more effort on it. But our task is also to ensure that communities are aware, are educated around the operations and the functions of the council and municipality, respectively. And more important, we provide office accommodation and also administrative or logistical support to the ward committee or councillors. Ward councillors will be afforded an opportunity to have an office that will be together with our departments. I think the CIO has also indicated the issue of ICT. We are working with real estate in terms of the office refurbishment, and if there are no offices, we look for another offices and the options available so that ward councillors are operating within their constituency. So this is the part that we are facilitating together with an executive. I won't dwell more on those, but I think I've scantily tried to touch on our key programs that we deal with: public participation and outreach programs. If, for example, the state of the city, budget, and all other activities that happen to land in Ekurhuleni, either from national or provincial government, we also facilitate that. Currently, in the following 2 weeks, there'll be public hearings by the Parliament on Children's Bill and other hearings that will be conducted. So we have that consult and coordination platform together with the other spheres of government. So we play part in also mobilizing communities around those aspects. We develop, or as I indicated, establish, maintain, develop ward committees and their sectors. Once we have elected the ward committees, we make sure that ward councillors, they conduct their meetings as per the policy. They are provided with support and ensuring that they communicate with their constituencies. So we facilitate in providing the support and administrative support to that. And also, as I indicated, the ward councillors in their offices. This is office administrative and logistical support. It's very limited to the work that you do as ward councillors. There might be a blurry support between us and the councillor support and on your pension fund, but we are able to work as colleagues. If you have a problem, maybe with your adjustment and whatever forms that we need, we can facilitate as officials so that we refer you to the right office to work together. But our focus is more on giving capacity to the councillors to link up with the stakeholders. Petition management, as I indicated, we've got a petitions bylaw that was approved by council on how do we process and the petitions of council. And also to ensure that the petition system process is maintained, and we liaise with relevant departments. We also receive petitions from other spheres of government. We process them to departments, and with or without those challenges, we are able to ensure that the committee or the committee is sitting to consider those petitions. But also, we monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of that system. Now, some people are calling us a village in the department because we've got a lot of officials that are supposed to service 112 wards. So this is the structure that you'll see currently that we are working on. But as we know that the structure evolves in terms of the regulations, we need to review and look at aligning and all sort of the. Currently, we have the office headed by executive manager. We have your petitions manager, currently is vacant because the official has retired in September. We have your 6 managers per our region. I'll go through that now. We have a component of civic education and public outreach. We're working in terms of 6 regions just to manage. Previously, it was 3 regions. We had 3 managers, so it was very a big challenge for us. So we work in terms of advice of city planning, in terms of their spatial planning, of course. They use 6 regions, so adapted that into our own legislature management region. We have your region A, B, C, D, and E, F, or E and F. Your region A will be more focused around your Germiston, Boksburg, Captain Park, and Edenvale. And then we have your region B, which is mostly Tembisa. We have your region C, which is mostly your Davidton Etwatwa area. Your region D is your Brakpan, your Benoni area, and the surrounding areas. I'm just mentioning the triple Cs. And then you have your region F, which is Okwasa, Tuza, Watema, Tsakane, Tutuza, and Niger. That is region E, sorry. Your region F is mostly your Alberton and your Katoras area, which is Okatlong, Togoza, and Phosphorus. So these are the regions that we work with. And then I'm going to introduce the team because physically they are not supposed to be here, so that ward councillors, you are able to see the name and the face. We have one manager that is managing your region A, which I've alluded to. These are the wards. He's managing 21 wards, Ward 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 39, 42, 43, 91, 92, and 93. So if you are a ward councillor in those particular wards, this is he's not my brother, he's not my cousin, we just sharing a surname. Mzwake Khatebe, he's the manager. He's got a team that he's working with. And we have arranged that he is responsible to coordinate all the councillors so that we go through the process of allocating your offices and other plans that the board councillors might raise. So he's accountable in that region. We have your region P, Eric Mokhatla, who's managing 17 wards in Tembisa, 1 and 2. It's Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, and 89, 90, 100, and 102. Councillors in those regions. I'm sorry, Mzwake, his office is in Captain Park, but also in Boxbeck because his area is too big. And then Eric is sitting in CCC1 in Tembisa. You'll find him there. And I know that by next week, Monday, all of them, they must come back from working at home. Region C, we have Ambane Makanga, who's in the part of Pinone, Twatwa, and also Davidton area. He's handling 13 wards. Ward 24, Ward 25, Ward 26, Ward 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 96, 109, and 110. He's the official responsible to coordinate the councillors in those areas. I know that there's a ward, that buffer between Captain Park and Pinone. He's supposed to share that with the next manager, who is Masifako Tlowana, who's handling 13 wards. So they're able to share. You find other areas are falling within the two regions. So they're able to work and assist the councillor in that area. Masifako Tlowana, she's responsible for 13 wards in Ward 23, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 97, and 105. So that's the official that will be responsible. In Region E, Mr. Musa Mamabulo is handling 16 wards. That is your wards in 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 98, 99, 112, and 311. His office is sitting in Springs currently together with Masfako because of the office space. But once we complete the refurbishment offices in Tutuza, so he'll be placed in Tutuza for all those councillors in those particular area. And for Region C, I forgot to mention Ambani. He's sitting in Pinone office. And then the last region is Region F. We have Ms. Karen Sneeman, who is responsible for Katoras and Alberton. You'll realize that this is the massive region with 32 wards. 37, 38, 40, 41, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 94, 95, 101, 103, 106, 107. So these are the regional managers who are responsible for managing our wards, all the issues that are happening in our wards. Karen is sitting in Albertine office, but as I indicated, there's staff in each and every CCC that assist councillors. We have apportioned a certain number of wards to the staff member. You'll see a proportional rate of 1 to 4 and to 5, depending on the availability of the staff. Thank you very much, councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ntate Khatebe. Let's have the presentation by DH in the Office of the Chief Whip on political party interactions. DH.
Greetings, City Manager, Council Secretary, Divisional Head, Legal and Procedural, and Honorable Councillors. My name is Shipiwa Nkumeleni, and I'm the Divisional Head in the Office of the Chief Whip. My presentation is going to be very short. It's going to touch on the functionality of the whippery. I will jump some of the slides which I don't think they are necessary for today, like number 2 and number 3, and then I'll go straight to the functions of the whip. Section 41B of the Local Government Municipal Structures Amended Act of 2021 has clearly defined the function of the whip. What we do in the Office of the Chief Whip is we liaise with different political parties to ensure representation in council and council communities. We maintain sound relations between the various political parties. The Chief Whip informs the whips of all parties on important matters on the council agenda. He assists the Speaker of the Council to count votes in council meetings, and also facilitates the interaction between the executive and legislative structures of the council. He also resolves, where there are disputes, the Chief Whip resolves such between the Speaker, the Mayor or Executive Mayor, or members of the Mayoral Committee. This is just the structure of the Office of the Chief Whip, and I can assure you that all political party caucuses, they do have a support staff, so I'm not gonna go one by one. Moving to the aspects of whippery, the 2021 local government elections has gave birth to about 16 political parties in council. You are all represented here, and you are all housed under the Office of the Chief Whip. And then what we do there is we oversee the effective functioning of council sitting. That council sitting must undertake its business smoothly. We ensure that there's effective and timely communication on all matters that are significant for parties to effectively contribute. Ensuring maximum and effective participation in council activities. And we further promote the culture of strong oversight and adherence to rules, legislations, and processes. We take collective responsibility towards the maintenance of order, discipline, and acceptance conduct, as presented by my colleague earlier on. The multi-party forum, it convenes prior to every council sitting for proper planning. And such forum is chaired by a Chief Whip of Council who is going to be elected next week, Monday. In 2011 to 2016, we had 3 political party caucuses. That was the majority party caucus, ANC, followed by the opposition party caucus, DA, and the minority caucuses. In 2016, 2021, we then have an emergency of economic freedom fighters. Then we had a total number of 4 caucuses. That was the majority caucus, the opposition caucus, the EFF caucus, as well as the minority caucuses. What we do is all caucuses, they develop their own program of action or calendar of activities, which does not conflict with the approved legislature calendar or calendar of council. All caucuses, like I mentioned, they are all supported by dedicated officials for proper coordination, research, and content support. How the office interface with executive and legislative oversight structures. As an elected office bearer, Chief Whip convenes a Troika meeting, which is the political management meetings where the Chief Whip sits, the executive mayor, as well as the Speaker of Council. It ensures that parties in council are represented in different oversight committees and standing committees. It also ensures that executive, which is the departments, they account to the legislature through different committees of council. And it also allows parties, political parties in council to engage quarterly, to engage with quarterly SDBIPs, the budget processes, as well as the annual report. It also plays a role in monitoring the implementation of council resolution on a quarterly basis, where the executive mayor will come and present the SDBIP report, and as political parties represented in this council, you will be allowed to engage with such a report. And then on the strategic posture, our strategic posture on multi-party whippery moving forward, we further comprehend and perfect the functionality of multi-party whippery. We must do so by taking into consideration the best practices, especially what is happening in the National Assembly, the National Council of Provinces, as well as the legislature. The whippery must also have a broader appreciation of good governance. There must always be a seamless flow of processes that culminate into much smoother decision-making processes in council. We also enforce compliance of standing orders that was presented by my colleague earlier on. We also strive to strengthen quality, effective, and timely oversight. We also advocate for a superior understanding and leadership on council agenda items. Our legitimate objective is that the municipality must continue to have a capability of providing sustainable basic services and development, that the municipality is financially viable in order to meet its current and long-term obligations, that the municipality has and implements long-term strategic plan, your IDP, your GDS, and that seeks to change the outlook of the city through proper infrastructure development and investment, that there is a good governance and meaningful community engagement, and that there is acceleration of socio-economic prosperity of household and residents in general. That was the presentation from the Office of Chief Whip. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, TH. We will move faster. We now have a presentation from the Research and Committees, DH Peter Tolo, on the handover report of the legislature, end of term report. Thank you.
My name is, it's on the board, it's Orapele Peter Tolo. I'm responsible for research and committees in the legislature to support the various committees in the legislature. But I'm presenting here a consolidated report of the performance of the legislature for the term that just ended. Just to give you a sense of what we did well, what opportunities are there for us to do better, and where improvements must be effected as we go forward. So just to, I'm told that it has been circulated or will be circulated for as your bedtime reading. So I'm just here to give you broad highlights of what we did so that you already start to formulate a sense of possible areas of improvement as we move forward as an institution. So I will just give you a few quick slides. I've been told that I need to summarize an already summarized presentation. So the legislature just a month or two ago submitted to council a comprehensive report to detail essentially our activities for the 5 years by the various divisions of the legislature. Two of my colleagues have already been here just to give you a sense about what those divisions do. So we put together a comprehensive report, hopefully to give you some guidance and to ease you nicely into this term as well. In terms of the committees themselves, we had 20, about 17 or so of those, there is individual 5-year end-of-term reports for those committees. So once committees have been established in whatever manner that they will be at a later stage, those committees will have an opportunity also to go through what that committee specifically did and was unable to do, and what needs to be improvements, therefore, going forward. So in addition to this report, I'm saying there's also a subset of other reports that will inform your work and orientate you nicely into the work of council. So I won't speak about that, except to say that end-of-term report, I don't know whether it's moved, it doesn't seem to be. Okay. In terms of the contents of the report that you would receive, you have already received, those are the broad contents of that report. I won't go into each and every one of those sections, but you can see that the intention of the report is to outline what is it that we sought to do, what did we do, what were we unable to do to achieve, and therefore what do we see as possible areas of opportunity going forward. So I won't go into each and every one of those sections. Just to give you a quick sense, councillors, the two or so of my colleagues have already presented. You will see that they are represented as one of the divisions there, and then it's mine, research and committees, and then there is two others. And then there is a number of other support, support internal services and so on, that support all of these 5 key sort of functions in the legislature. The legislature, as almost a separate institution of the municipality, an independent sort of an institution, seeks to be a model legislature in city legislator around the country, if not internationally as well. So we pursue this mission through those 5 divisions or subunits, and then all of us are seeking to, of course, achieve the bigger plan of the city, which is the GDS 2025, which I'm hoping that at some point you will be introduced to it through some form or the other, so that you get a sense. But this document, compiled roughly 10 years or so back, involved all of the stakeholders of the city, the business, the academia, and so on. So you really have to be an extremely critical person to find anything wrong with it. But what happens every 5 years is that there is different areas of emphasis for every administration that comes in. But the broad thinking, the challenges of the city, what has happened over time in the last 100 years in the city are detailed and analyzed very deeply. And then a strategic framework or a trajectory of how we need to move forward is outlined there. That's why you see those different phases that I'm talking about there. Just so you will, I'm sure the administration will make a plan to introduce you to that plan. But every administration, every 5 years, emphasize different things in it based on their own mandate, etc. Just to give you broad highlights of that performance of the legislature quickly. I won't go every single bullet, but the most important, for example, is this bullet number 2, for example, where we are talking about a paperless project. If you were here previous term and others, you would have been encountered with 6 or 7 volumes of an agenda of council. You won't be able to get that anymore because everything now that we do, even the agendas of the committees themselves are now electronic to make sure that we move into a new era of digitization. So that was the second bullet. I just want to highlight also the fourth bullet about the ombudsman, that we have an ombudsman bylaw. There was an intention to set up this particular structure so that as part of the many levers of encouraging responsiveness of the municipality. Unfortunately, financial constraints and others, it has not been set up, but the bylaw and all things that are associated with it have been put together so that this mechanism, when the time is right, is unleashed so that we are able to be more responsive than we have historically been. I won't go into the other bullets, it's for you to read at your own time. My colleague Lucky spoke a little bit about one of the committees that we have is public participation and petitions. It processes quite a number of petitions in each and every one of its meetings that are received from communities in different parts of the city. So we are just indicating that as part of this end of term report, that it processed over 1,000 petitions from members of the community. And actually, it could have been even be more because we also have to do a sifting type of a process before we allow some of them in. In terms of quickly, I'm going to jump to bullet number 3, the 102 wards that Lucky spoke about. Ward committees have to be set up in the different wards. We are mentioning that all of them were established at some point or the other, but there's a high level of turnover because these are part-time, they are serviced by part-time members of the community. So at very regular times, some of these committees tend not to be functional, but overall, they were set up and we keep on re-establishing them even when there's a high turnover. But overall, within a reasonable period of the previous term, they were set up, but the nature of the beast is such that there's a high turnover because people get employment somewhere else and so on, and the sort of stipend that they get for this type of activity is not worth their while sometimes. Just to go quickly to the second last bullet about the committees themselves. The committees are the engines of the legislature. The biggest amount of work happens there. We do the day-to-day functioning of the legislature. So I'm just indicating that there we had 982 meetings in the term under review, processing almost 1,400 reports to council for decision making. So just to give you a sense of the volume of work that some of these committees, obviously it varies committee by committee. Some committees are more busy than others. Finance, for example, infrastructure. I see Chairperson Dino. There's a high volume of reports from some committees that come to council. That is why you are able to see that sort of a number of from about 17 committees or so going through to council. In terms of I also saw the previous chairperson of MPEC. That committee is one of the key. You would have seen even in the recent Municipal Structures Act amendment that we got to know about recently, that there is an emphasis that all municipalities now around the country needs to set up that structure. This previously existed in some municipalities and not in others. But Municipal Structures Act now has decreed that all municipalities around the country must have that structure. Very important mechanism for clean administration and for governance. And we are indicating that, that it also, we believe, that committee makes a contribution to the clean audit that we achieved. So it processed around 70 reports. Like you also spoke very quickly on the last bullet about the Constitution. There's a constitutional injunction that we must ensure the public participation of communities in the affairs of the municipality. So as an institution within the municipality, you have to devise or design your own way of ensuring that particular injunction is implemented. So we do it through a number of modalities, but in committees we are indicating that one of the projects that we run is to take committees to communities so that they participate, they observe, and in some instances we allow them even to make input that we transfer to the executive, because also one of the possible threats or possible reason for apathy is also because people deposit their views and there is never feedback. So we intended in one of those committees, for example, last year, to have a feedback, to collect the issues through the committees and then to go back to the committees to respond and tell them exactly what has happened. Unfortunately, COVID intervened and so on, but we believe that without feedback, going to communities and listening and never coming back to them serves no discernible purpose. Just as a quick summary now, at the end of the term, we did a research. I won't go into the details of it, but it was essentially as part of our continuous improvement agenda to hear what the outgoing councillors have to say about how the legislature has performed and what it can do going forward. I won't go into it, but the second slide is just to give you an indication of the sample of that research. And the third slide is to give you an indication of what the councillors were saying. Interestingly, one of the issues that they raised was also training that the HOD of HR addressed earlier on. So I won't go into that so that I stick to the decree that I finish quickly. Just for future thinking purposes, what are we going to do in this term of office? We just need to think about the separation of powers model, which is now essentially accommodated now in the Structures Act. The Ombudsman Office, resources permitting, it's an important mechanism to make sure that our communities feel as if their concerns are being addressed, are being listened to by the city administration. Information and communication technology, as I indicated, this meeting is also being held virtually. So we must also look at various possibilities of how we can use ICT as we go forward. Be innovative on public participation. That constitutional injunction I spoke about. How can we do better? How can we get our people involved, but also find creative ways of making sure that they have feedback from us? I won't go into the other issues, but just to indicate on point number last, that we also believe that separation of powers is not understood the same way across the municipality, that there's a need for some sort of a guidebook for councillors and perhaps even for the administration, so that we are all on the same board what this animal means and how we can implement and even improve it going forward. So I wish to wrap up like that. Unfortunately, time, I would have loved to go on and on and on, but it's now, time is of the essence. Thank you so much, councillors.
Thank you, DH, for that report. We'll share the report with all councillors. For now, let us then give it to the CM. This marks the end of presentations for today, CM. We are now on your announcements and final remarks, ma'am.
Thank you very much, colleagues, for the presentations. There's a noise there. Can Councillor, unfortunately, I don't know your names as yet. Oh, Councillor Randall, okay. May you please sit and be calm and listen. We've come to the end of the meeting. Just few announcements from myself. On the 22nd of November, which is a Monday, it is our first council meeting, which is called an inaugural council meeting. This meeting is important for all councillors to attend because there's an echo somewhere. Huh? Oh, Teams, okay. Can you mute, please? Those who are at home, mute your mics, please. I'm saying on the 22nd, it will be our first council meeting, which is called an inaugural council meeting. And all councillors are expected to be part of this meeting because that will be the day when we are all sworn in as councillors. You need to be here. The council meeting usually starts at 10. Today, after this session, we are going to have a photo shoot, and please make sure that you have actually submitted your information to the relevant officials so that we are able to process your payment end of the month. Councillors are normally paid on the 22nd of each month, so if your particulars are not there, please don't blame us. I know I received some resignation from other parties. Unfortunately, we cannot process those resignations now and replace those councillors, those PR councillors, because we must first have the first inaugural council meeting where that particular councillor is actually sworn in. Then afterwards is then that we can alter the IEC list and replace that particular councillor. Unfortunately, that councillor, whoever has resigned, should form part of the meeting, or if not, it's not our problem, but you must know that that councillor will definitely receive a salary for this particular month. So if you want that councillor not to further receive a second salary from this council, make sure that you send your papers to me as the MEO and indicate, firstly, the letter from the party itself that this particular councillor has actually resigned and will be replaced by Councillor so-and-so with the ID number. And you must also receive the resignation letter from that councillor. So if it's Councillor Mashazi that is resigning, I must write my ID and sign that I'm resigning as a councillor, PR councillor for this particular party with effect from this particular date, and you sign the letter. Then the party itself, using the party letterheads, they must write to me and indicate that this particular councillor has resigned and will be replaced by Councillor so-and-so with this particular ID number. And I must also get the acceptance letter from that particular councillor who is actually taking over from the councillor that has resigned. So lastly, there's an announcement from ESCOM that we're going to have load shedding from 14 hours. Ward councillors, please, when there's a load shedding from ESCOM, it is not our responsibility, it's ESCOM. There's nothing we can do as the city. And please make sure that your constituency or the citizens that have elected you, they do pay for rates and taxes, they do pay for water and lights, because the municipal budget is run on the collection rate that we get. We pay ESCOM within 30 days, and we are supposed to receive the monies from the citizens within 30 days, but unfortunately some of the residents are not paying. I'm urging all councillors to urge their constituency to pay for water and lights. There's no free water, there's no free electricity. If people are unemployed, please ensure that they register with our indigent system. The indigent program is run by the Department of Health in conjunction with the Department of Finance. Please make sure that if your residents are unemployed and they qualify to be indigent, they must register. But remember, indigent, there is a limitation in terms of the usage of electricity. For now, they were getting 100 kilowatts of electricity per month and 9 kiloliters of water per month. From the 1st of July, the council has changed the policy. We are now in line with the National Treasury regulation that indigents only get free 50 kilowatts of electricity and free 6 kiloliters of water. And some residents have been receiving, even those that can afford, they have been receiving free 6 kiloliters of water. So that has changed. It's going to change from 1st of July, that everyone will pay. That free 6 kiloliters of water is going to be removed. So everyone must pay. Rainwater is quite expensive for the city to pay, and also ESCOM. During the winter month, we pay close to a billion to ESCOM, and we're not collecting back that billion. So all council, all municipalities are actually struggling in terms of collection. So the cash is very less. Some of the programs are going to be reduced. The structure of council obviously is going to be reduced. Some of the nice to haves, we're not going to have them in this term of office because of the low collection rate and unemployment and the economic status of the country. And globally, all the countries in the world are actually doing badly in terms of economic development or in terms of the economy. All the economies have collapsed. I'm preaching to the converted, you all know, it is all over the news that municipalities are struggling financially. Some cities have collapsed financially, and we are trying as the city of Ekurhuleni to keep the municipality afloat. And we request councillors to assist us to keep the municipality afloat, because if the finances of the municipality collapse, it means they collapse in all our hands as a collective. Thank you very much. From now, we're going for lunch. Lunch is actually prepared on the right-hand side now of the building, banquet hall. After lunch, officials will take those who do not know the precinct. They can take you through the precinct and show you different offices and so forth. Sorry, guys. How? It's all councillors that are doing this. So the meeting is now officially adjourned. Thank you very much.